Okay, good morning. Today's shir is entitled The Hitman in Halacha. If you've got the sheet in front of you, we're going to work through the sheet. It's a fascinating sugya. For those listening online, please email me at j.golker@gmail.com. I'll send you the handout. The starting point, we learned last year, if you remember, we learned Gemara Kiddushin. And we switched at some point to the second parak. And the second parak famously begins with the Mishnah of Ho'ish Mekadesh. And the Mishnah said, if you remember, Ho'ish Mekadesh boyo b'shluchai, that a guy can be Mekadesh a woman either himself or he can make a shliach. That means, let's say, actually, now, sadly, there are travel restrictions to Eretz Yisrael, and you can't just jump on a plane. Please God, this should pass quickly. But if say, for example, a guy was going to get married in a week's time in Israel, he could, technically, make a shliach, say, listen, you're in Yerushalayim, I can't get there, do me a favor, go to the Ramada Hotel at 4 o'clock next Sunday afternoon, find the one in white, and go over to her and be Mekadesha. Here's £10, whatever, and he'll give her the money, the kesef kiddushin, he'll give her the ring, and he'll be Mekadesh Nisha. That works. The Mishnah says, the first box, Ho'ish Mekadesh bo b'shluchai, and so too a woman can do the same. Ho'ish Miskadeshes bo b'shluchai. That's the famous opening Mishnah, the second parak of Kiddushin. Now, how does that work? Through the concept of shlichus. What does shlichus mean? That I can make a shliach to do something for me, and it's as if that shliach is an extension of me. It's as if I'm standing under the chuppah giving my wife a ring, and he is just an agent on my behalf. Fine. The Gemara, two blots in on the mem base on a base, says the following. Second box. V'hodisnan. The Gemara asks the kasha. Really, there's a concept of shlichus? V'hodisnan. Surely the Mishnah says, Hasholeches habeira. If you send a fire biat chereshet v'katan, that means you give a fire to a person who hasn't got das. Potter midinei adam v'chayav b'dinei shamayim. You are exempt in dinei adam and you're chayav b'dinei shamayim. In other words, that kid or that cheresh or that shota goes and causes damage. It's not your problem in as much as you're not going to be taken to Beis Din and they can't make you liable. However, dinei shamayim, you are going to be culpable to some degree. However, sheleach biat pikeach, if you give it to a healthy, competent adult, a bar das, then pikeach chayev, then that person is going to be chayev. In other words, let's say I would say to an adult, I'll say to one of you, and I'll say to you, do me a favor, that field over there, the farmer really irritates me, do me a favor, destroy it, burn it down. And you go along and you do that, pikeach chayev, you will be chayev and not me. So what's the question? Says the Gemara, Vamai. Why? Neima shlucha shladum kamaisei. You are my shliach. You're just my extension. So why are you going to be chayiv? I should be chayiv. What's the answer? Shani hasam. There is different. What's the famous rule of the Gemara? De'ein shliach ledvar aveira. I can't make a shliach when it comes to an aveira. So when it comes to marrying a woman, which is a wonderful thing to do, so then great, I can make a shliach, and Isha can also make a shliach to accept the kesef kiddushin on her behalf. But I can't make a shliach when it comes to an averis. If I would say to you, go burn down that field, and you go do it, you are going to be chayiv and not me. Why ein shliach l'avera? Now what's the svara for ein shliach l'avera? Anyone know? What's the svara why the Gemara says you can't make a shliach when it comes to avera? Ein shliach l'avera. Says the Gemara, Damrinon, Divrei Harav v'Divrei HaTalmid Divrei Mishaymin. Because who should you listen to? You're going to listen to me, who tells you to go destroy that field, or you're going to listen to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Rav, who says you're not allowed to. So Divrei Harav v'Divrei HaTalmid Divrei Mishaymin. You should not have burned that field. Because as it were, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is saying to you, don't destroy somebody else's property. I'm telling you, destroy it. When it comes to that clash, you don't listen to me, you listen to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The way the Gemara phrases that is, Divrei Harav v'Divrei HaTalmid Divrei Mishaymin. Okay, yeah.
Would the shliach get no punishment then for doing the
excellent question. Well done, Solly. Great question. This is going to come up very soon. In fact, look at the next box. Is the Mishaleach chayiv for anything? That's exactly the question I want to address. So in that situation, let's say I send you and I say to you, go burn the field, and you go and burn it. So the Gemara has established that you are going to be chayiv and not me. The pekach is chayiv and not me, because ein shliach v'avera, divrei harav, divrei talmid, divrei mishaymin. Your question is, fine, the guy is going to have to pay for the thousands of damage that he caused, let's say. But am I in any way culpable? Am I going to be guilty at some level? So take a look at the Ritva on paragraph 2. Shilech b'yad pikecha pikecha pirush v'hasholeach mi potter legamri. I am totally innocent. V'afilu medina shemayim, even in heaven. There's no culpability on my part at all. Kiven shekvar mishtalim hanizik min hapikeach. Because once I say to you, go burn that field, that's your prerogative. If you choose to do that, that's your responsibility. I am now disconnected from that shlichus. You can't attribute your action back to me. So therefore it's finished. Okay? Masha'en kain, interestingly, continues the Ritva, b'soicher eidei sheker, in a case where I hire false witnesses to fabricate some nonsense, to get somebody into trouble or something, then I will be chayav medin shamayim. Why? Because I think that means I'm not disconnected from the actual situation. If I hire Eidim and I pay them money to go stand up in court and to give false testimony, they're still somewhat connected to me, and therefore I'm still involved, and b'dinei shamayim at least I'm going to be chayav. So what have we established so far? A few rules before we get on to our topic of the hitman. A few rules. Number one, there's a concept of shlichus, which means I can make a shliach and he is just an extension of me. That works. Shlucha shlaldim k'moso. Rule number two, ein shliach l'dvar aveira. That if I make a shliach to do something which is an aveira, which is wrong, that does not work. Why? Because of the svara, divrei harav, divrei hatalmud, divrei mishaymim. Point number three, whilst ein shliach l'dvar aveira, would I be guilty of any crime? Because the shliach is going to be chayiv himself. It's not going to be me. Ein shliach l'dvar aveira. So the pikach who burns the field, he's going to be chayiv. Am I guilty of anything? So the Ritva says clearly, and the Tosar Rosh will do that in a second, also says potter legamri. I'm totally exempt. However, there is an exception in the case of when I hire someone, I hire Eidei Sheker, then I would be chayiv because I'm still somewhat connected to the crime at hand. Masha'en kain, if I tell you to destroy a field, he chooses to destroy the field, then that's nothing to do with me. That's your choice. Divarav diratam mishamin. You shouldn't listen to me. Okay, let's look at the Tosar Rosh, who says pretty much what the Ritva says, but he adds a few interesting things. Again, the same inference that the Ritva made, that the Mishalech, me, I'm totally exempt in the case of Ein Shliach L'Dvar Aveira. Afagav the Beresh HaKoines, however, in the beginning of HaKoines in Perek Baba Kama, that's because there's hiring. And therefore, I'm still connected to the crime being committed. But in the case where there's no schirus, I'm not paying him to do this, I just say to you, go burn that guy's field, then in that situation, I am totally off the hook. It is your responsibility. Let me just finish, Rafi, 1 second. However, later on, the Gemara is going to say, it's the Gemara in Mem Gimel, go kill somebody, and he kills someone, that could be different. When it comes to murder, if I say to you, go kill somebody, you can see we're getting closer to our topic, go kill somebody, then in that situation, in Dinei Shamayim, I'm going to be somewhat guilty. Okay, yeah, Rafi.
What about in a military setting, for example, where someone has, you can give someone an order to do something? Okay,
so we're not talking about wartime. In wartime, there are different rules. And that would actually, depends what the situation is. It could even be a mitzvah. We're talking about regular life, and therefore there was no justification for doing this particular crime.
I'm saying it's justification. I'm saying because the
Mishalech, there's one who's sending you. The shliach, yeah.
The shliach has more of a defense because he can say, even if it's clearly a crime, what they did, he can say because he was ordered into something, he's got more of a justification.
Okay, that's a big discussion. So can I say I was just following orders, that generally doesn't wash. Yeah. Sadly, we've seen this in more recent times in the Nuremberg trials, and in the Eichmann trial, he used that as a defense, by the way, and that did not wash. Just following orders does not wash. Anyway, yeah.
The case of the hitman, is it talking about someone being paid to be a hitman?
Yeah. So this is our question. We're going to discuss a few things now. Number one, if you hire an assassin to kill somebody, so you pay someone, I don't know what the going rate is. Anyone knows? I'm joking. Say, for example, you know that I pay you $1 million to kill a high-profile politician. So who is actually going to be chayiv over there? Ein shliach l'dvar avera would suggest that I'm potter, I pay £1 million, and you're going to be responsible. But is that true? Is there any culpability on my part at all? Okay. And what about other situations, which are more common? Let's say I put you up to do something. I say to you, do me a favor, go down the road, you go to Kosher Kingdom, go in. As you go in on the left, the sushi stand, go steal a sushi, and you go and do it. So who's going to be chayiv in that situation? Now, does it make a difference if the person I say it to is lacking Yirah Shamayim and he doesn't really care about halacha or moral values about stealing? So then you come onto all those sort of questions. So let's take a look. Let's build this slowly. So in order to get there, we need to discuss a very interesting machlokus rishonim. There is a debate whether ein shliach l'dvar aveira is based purely on the logic of divrei harav, divrei talmud, divrei mishomin, or whether it's a hard and fast rule. And what do I mean by that? Let's take a look. In order to understand this machlokus rishonim, we need to do a few more lines of the Gemara. Take a look at paragraph 3, the fourth line down. The Gemara has just established ein shliach l'dvar aveira. So the Gemara asks a kasha. V'hadas anya, surely we've learned in a brisa. Shliach shelo yoseh shlichus shliach mal. You're familiar with the whole topic of me'ilah. Me'ilah is where you steal from the Beis Hamikdash, and there's a certain carbon that you bring, a carbon me'ilah. So if I say to you, here, go and take that money, and go buy something for me, and that money happens to belong to the Beis Hamikdash. So says the Gemara, it's quoting a brisa there, Shliach shelo yoseh shlichusay, you didn't do your shlichus, I told you something and you didn't listen to me, shliach mal, then you're going to be responsible. But also shlichusa, if you do listen to me and you perform the shlichus that I instruct you to do, then balabais mal, the balabais is going to be chayiv me'ilah. Ki also shlichusa the balabais miyamal. If you do the shlichus of that I ask you to do something and you go take that £20 and you go and buy something and you perform exactly what I ask you to do to the letter, I am chayiv me'ilah. What's the obvious question? Why am I chayiv me'ilah? Surely there is a principle, ein shliach lidvar aveira. We've just established that the person committing the crime is going to be chayiv and not me. So why is the balabais chayiv me'ilah? You get that, Eden? Says the Gemara, amai, neim ein shliach lidvar aveira. Says the Gemara, no, me'ilah is different. Shani me'ilah diyofa chetchem. Mitruma matruma mishav shliach av me'ilah shav mishliach. There's a special gezeres hakosov learned from gezeres shava that shliach, that me'ilah you're going to be chayiv. Okay, ad kan the Gemara. Now you need to know that Gemara to understand this Tosfos. Tosfos asks a great question. Tosfos says, Tema, I don't understand this whole question. What does that mean? Me'ilah, by definition, is b'shogeg. You cannot do me'ilah b'mezid. Me'ilah, by its very nature, has to be b'shogeg. Therefore, says Tosfos, even mezid leka me'ilah. Ein me'ilah b'mezid. There is no concept of me'ilah b'mezid. In Cain, yesh liach l'dvar avera, d'lo shayach l'mem divrei rav divrei talmud. You hear that, guys? Amazing. The whole svara of ein shliach l'dvar avera is premised on divrei harav divrei talmud nishomin. You should have listened to God, not to me. But if you're talking about a situation where it's not shayach that svara, because he didn't know that money belonged to Beis Hamikdash, you can't apply the principle of divrei harav divrei talmud nishomin. And therefore you could suggest ein shliach l'dvar avera. So it says Tosfos, I don't understand the whole question of the Gemara. You get it? And you see other examples of that. So look at the third line of Tosfos. You got a similar situation where the svara of divrei harav divrei talmud doesn't apply, because you got a case in Merubah, Perek Baba Kama, Tafayat Tesmud Aleph, to Ka'ama Hari Shegonav Tzlemen Oeda. Amazing case. Let's say I steal a sheep from a field, V'omar l'kohen tul tzle zeh shel sheli, and I go up to some kohen and I say, you know what, this is your matnas kohuna. Go take that, that lamb over there, which has got, I don't know, a little mark on its back saying number 10. And you go take it. You don't know that sheep has been stolen by me. Or another example, or I give it to you as a pigeon aben. I want to redeem my son, I give you a sheep. So I give you this sheep, I say, go take that one. But you don't know it's stolen. And I show you another animal. Take that sheep over there. And you go take it. It's actually not my animal. So in any situation where I'm stolen something, and then you go take it, Umasik demiyatshu tziu hakohen rishus bailim nischayev haganav b'mashichas hakohen. That I'm going to be chayev as soon as you take it. So you go take this sheep. I am going to be chayev in that situation. V'hikshe rihosam, and the re asks on the Gemara there in Meruba, am I chayev haganav? Why am I going to be chayev? Name ein shliach l'dvar aveira. Surely, again, this is like a shlichus case. I say to you, the Kohen, go take that sheep, and it's not my sheep, and you don't know about it. So why do we say ein shliach l'dvar aveira, and therefore I can't, and therefore you should be chayiv and not me? Why am I chayiv in that situation? V'tiretz kiven she'ein kohen yodeh shu bo migneva lo shaykh l'mei divrei meshomin. Says the Gemara Geshmak. Says Tosfos. Says Tosfos that you don't apply ein shliach l'dvar aveira. Why? Because the whole premise of ein shliach l'dvar aveira is divrei harav divrei talmid divrei mishomin. And therefore, since you didn't know that is a stolen animal, you can't apply the svara of divrei harav divrei talmid. You should have listened to God, not to me, because you didn't know this was a stolen item. Correct? And therefore, you can't apply ein shliach l'dvar aveira. Fine. Ad kan Tosfos. But what emerges from Tosfos, and this is the key point, guys. The key point that emerges from the Tosfos is that you don't always say ein shliach l'dvar aveira. That you only say ein shliach l'dvar aveira when the rule of divrei horav, divrei talmid mishomin applies. Now, take a look at the Ritva, because he says otherwise. Says the Ritva, shani hosam de ein shliach l'dvar aveira, domrin divrei horav, divrei talmid, divrei mishomin, pirush, taime komrinon, shehu al kain al harayv. The majority of times you can apply the rule of divrei harav divrei talmid. Miudina deraiso, but the rule of ein shliach l'dvar aveira is actually a din mid haTorah, kadelakaman v'afilu heicha delesa l'hayis taima. And even when you don't have the rule of divrei harav divrei talmid, kagon shel shogeg, for example, in shogeg v'yichayotzi b'zeh. Wow! So you've got therefore a fascinating machlokas between the Ritva and Tosfos, whether or not what is the application of ein shliach l'dvar aveira. According to the Ritva, you always say ein shliach l'dvar aveira. According to Tosfos, you only say ein shliach l'dvar aveira if you can say divrei harav divrei talmid. Now, that sounds a bit abstract. Now let's make it lamaisa. Listen to this. Aaron, imagine I say to you, Aaron, do me a favor, go to Grudzinski, not far from here, Grodz, and go steal a geschmacka jam donut. Right? And you go and steal it. Who's chayiv? What would you say? Who's chayiv in that situation? I tell you, go and steal a jam donut from a thing. And you go to the thing, you go into Grudzinski, and you quickly steal one. Who's going to be chayiv?
Aaron.
Aaron, why?
Because he didn't have to.
Yeah, the chora, because ein shliach l'dvar aveira, very, very good, Zach. Ein shliach l'dvar aveira, and therefore I can't make him a shliach to steal this on my behalf because it's an aveira. Divrei harav, divrei talmid, divrei mishomin. You've got a choice. You listen to me, you listen to God. I'm the talmid, God is the rav. Divrei harav, you listen to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, of course. And therefore, ein shliach l'dvar aveira, and therefore, he is going to be responsible and not me. Fine, because I'm disconnected to your crime. That's the ein shliach l'dvar aveira. But listen to this, guys. Not Aaron. But let's say you're dealing with someone who is not interested in Yiddishkeit. He knew, let's say, he grew up in a frum home, and now he's turned away from his religion and his Masorah, and he doesn't keep anything. And I say to him, I want to make you my shliach to go. I'm very hungry. I'd like a donut. Can you go to Grudzinski and get me a donut, please? Steal one. And he goes and does it. Would that make a difference? Would your answer be the same? What would you say now? Rafi, you want to answer?
It's like the sugar.
It's what?
It could be like the sugar.
What do you mean?
The toast that it's not divrei harav divrei talmid.
Oh, so you go on.
Because he might not know the halachas about food.
So here we go. This, in other words, Rafi, this situation, if I ask somebody who is not bothered about moral values, about halacha or any of these things, and I say to him, I want to make you mashiach, I'm starving, hungry, can you go to Grudzinski and steal me a donut? Or go to Koshkin and get me some sushi. And the guy is not interested in halacha, this situation, Rafi, would be a nafkamina between Tosfos and the Ritva. Can anybody explain that to me? Why would this be a nafkamina between Tosfos and the Ritva? Why would this be a nafkamina between Tosfos and the Ritva? Anybody? Come on, you can do it. Go on, Yitzchak.
Is it because the Ritva thinks that it's like not a foolproof?
Exactly. Very, very good. In other words, according to the Ritva, that Ein Shliach Dvar Avera is 100% rule. You always say Ein Shliach Dvar Avera. I don't care of the premise. Sometimes Divrei Rav would apply, sometimes it won't. So even in this situation, if I tell this guy, go steal this donut for me, go steal the sushi for me, then Ein Shliach Dvar Avera, he is going to be chayiv. End of story. But according to Tosfos, we only say Ein Shliach Dvar Avera when the svar of Divrei Rav, Divrei Talmud applies. And if it won't apply in this situation, maybe not. So you see, this would be a great example of nafkamina between Tosfos and the Ritva. Now, however, there is a sma. Now this sma is brought in the Kilas Yaakov. I've got it in front of you there on the sheet in paragraph 4, but I'm going to read it to you from the Kilas Yaakov. Okay? This is the Kilas Yaakov, the Stipler. It's Chidushim in Kiddushin. This, in my version, it's Siman Lamed Ches. It's different, Siman in different versions. In my version, it's Lamed Ches. But in Ein Shliach Dvar Avera, listen to this. V'hasma, which is what you've got there in the second box in paragraph 4. V'hasma, one of the main perushim on Shchoshin Mishpat. Reish Siman Kuf Pei Beis Mevayim. Svaras Divrei Rav Divrei Talmud. He explains what the svara is, the Divrei Rav Divrei Talmud. The Mishum Hachi Yochel HaMashaleach Litoin, because the Mashaleach who sends the guy to do the Aveira, let's burn that field, steal that sushi, whatever it is. Yochel HaMashaleach Litoin Hoyisi Sova Shelo Yishom Ali. I thought that he wouldn't listen to me. That's the svara of Divrei Rav Divrei Talmud. I thought that you wouldn't listen to me, and therefore the shlichus is no good. And therefore, since I can argue that I didn't think you would actually do this, there's no gemiras hadas, there's no sort of certainty in my mind to make you this shliach. This lechera, this sma is based on the tashbetz or pasko haramah zal b'simen shin peiches, and the ma'isa, the ramah, this sma finds support from a ramah in shin peiches. That's box number 5. What does the Ramah say? When the shliach is muchzak to do an aveira, he is, he's got a chazaka, a presumption that he's going to do it. Shapir chayv hamashaleach. Whoa! So the Ramah says, amazingly, that if you in fact take a look at the Shulchan Aruch in paragraph 5. The Gemara says, we're talking about a museh. So the Ramah says that im hashliach huchzak lasos chayv hamashalchay. So normally in the case of a Mosa, you appoint someone to do an act of Masir, which is of course is a terrible crime. You're not allowed to do Masir. You can't snitch on a member of the Jewish people, Masiris. And therefore the Gemara, the Shulchan Aruch says normally you're going to be chayiv, a Mosa is going to be chayiv. But if you appoint a shliach to do a Maisa Masira, so if he is huchzuk bekach, says the Ramah, you don't say in Shliach Dvar Avera. V'ayin shom, go back to the Kilas Yaakov, says the Stipler, V'ayin shom b'shach b'shem atashbet, shebia taimo mishum, t'hoch lo shach divrei Rav divrei Talmud, divrei mishoimin, t'vada shashliach yishma lo yikim shehuchzu bekach. So you see, fascinating. The Sma and the Ramah is supported by the Sma can find support in this Ramah. The Sma seems to be of the opinion that if the person, the shliach, is muchzuk to do something, then it's going to be chayiv. So what am I trying to say over here? I'm trying to say like this. Rafi, you told me that the nafkamin, back to our scenario. I appoint you as a shliach. I say, listen guys, I'm starving hungry. I'm teaching all day. I need you to go to Sushi Haven and go buy me some sushi. No, go and get me some sushi. And you say, but Rabbi, I haven't got any money. I say, well, neither have I. Just steal it. You go to Sushi Haven and you steal it. Are you chayiv? So according to the regular rules of Ein Shliach Dvar Avera, you are chayiv and not me. Right? Because Divrei Rav, Divrei Talmud, Divrei Mishoimin, you shouldn't listen to me. Ein Shliach Dvar Avera, and therefore, but if the person I'm talking to, the shliach that I'm making, that has no care about halacha or moral values at all, and then he goes and does it, who's going to be chayiv then? So let's say I find a delinquent, and I go up to this guy and say, do me a favor, I'm starving hungry. The guys in my shir are not interested in stealing, but I understand you may be. He's a serial shoplifter. And I say, I'm starving hungry, I haven't got any money, go to Sushi Haven, go steal some sushi for me. And the guy goes, who's going to be chayiv then? So let's think about it. According to the Ritva, he says, Ein Shliach Dvar Avera is 100% in all situations. So then l'chora, he would be chayiv. According to Tosfos, not, because Divrei Rav Divrei Talmud would not apply over there. L'chora. However, according to this sma, we could say that even the Ritva would be of the opinion that when that shliach is muchzuk bekach, he's got a track record of stealing, then we would say, then even the Ritva would agree that we wouldn't say ein shliach d'var avera, and I would be guilty. I may not be guilty midinei Adam, kosher kingdom can't take me to Beis Din, but dinei Shemayim at least I'd be guilty. And therefore, although it would seem in this case would be a nafkamina between the Ritva and Tosfos, it would, based on the sma, it would be perhaps even the Ritva would agree that I would be culpable at some level, at least midin Shemayim. I should add that the Rabbi Kiva Eiger, there isn't time to do it inside, but the Rabbi Kiva Eiger, and it's on the sheet, he asks on the sma from a Tosfos somewhere, and the Kilas Yaakov also asks on the sma. So it's not absolutely clear cut. But let me just, before I take your questions, let me just summarize what we've done. Okay? Just to clarify, so you're all clear, and then we'll quickly talk about the hitman. We've established lots of different things. Number one, we've established there's a concept of shlichus. That's shlucha shalom kamoisai, a well-established principle in Gemara and Halacha. We've also established that ein shliach l'dvar avera. That if I were to tell you, do me a favor, I'm making you a shliach to go and destroy that guy's field. So then the pikeach is chayiv, you're chayiv. Why? Ein shliach l'dvar avera, divrei harav, divrei talmud, divrei mishomin. Clear rule. Is there any liability for the mishalech in that situation, for me who send you? So then it seems from the Ritva and from Tosar Rosh that I am potter legamri. Why? Because it's your problem. I didn't think you were going to do it. In the case of hiring Eidim, Eidei Sheker, then it's different, and I'm going to be liable, at least in Shemaim, not in this world, not in Beis Din. Okay? Those are some of the points we've made. Regarding Ein Shliach Dvar Avera, what is its status? The Ritva is of the opinion it's across the board. We always say it's a Gzeres HaKosov almost. It's a Din D'Oraisa, he calls it. Tosfos, however, seems to say we only say Ein Shliach Dvar Avera when you can apply the rule of Divrei Rav, Divrei Talmud, Divrei Mishomin. Peseda. What's the nafkamina between Tosfos and the Ritva? The nafkamina would be this delinquent shliach who is not particularly worried about halacha and moral values, and I can say to him, go steal something. L'chor, according to the Ritva, you always say in shliach l'avera, and therefore he's always going to be chayiv and not me. According to Tosfos, no, you only say in shliach l'avera in a situation where you can apply the rule of divrei rav divrei talmud. But if you can't apply it in that situation, then maybe not, and therefore, the culpability sticks back to me. Maybe b'dinei Shemayim, maybe b'dinei Adam even, but certainly b'dinei Shemayim. However, according to this sma, where the person is muchzuk bekach, the sma, and he finds support in a Ramoin in Choshen Mishpash Shin Peches, the box number 5, that if the person is muchzuk bekach, then we can't apply in shliach l'dvar avera. And because the Divrei Rav, Divrei Talmud Svara does not apply. Good. Adkan. And the Sma is questioned, like I said, by the Rabbi Eiger and the Kilas Yaakov. That's for further shiur maybe. But what about our hitman? So the hitman, the Gemara says on Mem Gimel, when it comes to murder, there's an exception. That even though we say the principle of Ein Shliach V'Avera, in Shemaim I'm going to be chayiv. What degree of culpability, dina zuta, dina ruba, a larger or smaller degree, there's a machlekes. But everyone would agree, in the case of a hitman, I'm culpable at some point. So the bottom line is, if I were to tell it to a shliach, go steal something for me, we normally apply the rule in shliach d'avera, he is chayiv and not me. However, in a situation where the guy is muchzuk to do it, the sma would say that actually in shliach d'avera wouldn't apply. He is going to be chayiv and not me, and that seems to be what the Ramah is saying as well, but that is questioned and that is debated. In terms of a hitman, whilst, I'm not advocating it's a good thing to do, of course, but if you were to hire an assassin and pay him money to do it, then the Gemara says in Mem Gimel, everyone would agree that there's going to be a culpability on my part, b'dinei Shemayim. Seder? Okay, good, we'll leave it at that.